Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone. Authorities in Carson City, Nevada say that a 42-year-old man was recently arrested and is now facing charges after he and his family were discovered to be living inside a local children's museum where he and his wife worked, along with a large cache of weapons. According to reports, the situation unfolded beginning on the evening of June 30th, when police received a call about a 2-year-old boy who was wandering around alone close to a busy road. When they arrived to investigate, they learned that the boy had walked out of the nearby Children's Museum of Northern Nevada. According to the building's website, the museum has been in operation for nearly 3 decades and was created to provide a play-based learning experience for young children and their families, and includes exhibits in the arts, sciences, humanities, and history. When officers spoke to the boy, they initially weren't able to learn much about what was going on. However, that changed when they talked to his older sister. She explained that her and her family members lived inside of the Children's Museum. Her mother was the museum's manager, and her father, 42-year-old Wilbert Calhoun, worked there as the janitor. It's alleged that as many as 5 children may have been living in the museum with Calhoun and his wife. It turned out that this living situation was news to the museum's board members, one of whom immediately came down to see what was going on after being contacted by police. Sure enough, when they searched the place, they found clothes, personal belongings, food, dishes, sleeping bags, blankets, and at least 2 mattresses, all of which reportedly belonged to Calhoun and his family. The discoveries didn't stop there, however. Inside of a storage area next to the museum's arts and crafts room, authorities found a number of weapons and accessories, including 4 handguns, a short-barreled rifle, knives, a baton, a taser, pepper spray, and ammunition. They also found 3 noise suppressors for the firearms that were illegal without federal government approval, as well as some marijuana and drug paraphernalia. While the discovery that Calhoun and his family had been secretly living in the Children's Museum was uncomfortable enough, needless to say, it was the weapons that bothered investigators and museum personnel most of all, especially since the place where they were found was completely unsecured and, quote, could easily be accessed by a wandering child. This posed not only a substantial risk to all of Calhoun's children, but also the many other daily visitors to the museum. Again, most of whom are kids. Though museum officials have said that they are completely stunned to learn that Calhoun and his family had been living in the building, many locals in the area have since criticized this claim, asking how they could have possibly not known. It's unclear exactly how long the family is alleged to have lived in the museum, though reports we came across state that strange things had been witnessed there, such as lights being on at all hours of the night, for at least a year. At least one other person claimed that they had pulled their child out of the museum's summer day camp after discovering that kids were being left unattended, and also said that they noticed that the facilities were not being properly cleaned, and that the camp was routinely starting more than an hour late. According to reports, Calhoun has now been charged with child neglect and endangerment, possession of a short-barreled rifle, and possession of a suppressor. It's unclear if Calhoun's wife will also be facing charges, though at the current time, both of them have reportedly been fired from their jobs at the museum. Authorities in Nashville, Tennessee say that a 14-year-old boy has been arrested this week after he allegedly destroyed a police vehicle by throwing fireworks at it. According to reports, the incident took place at around 6:45 p.m. on July 11th. When the teenage suspect tossed some fireworks onto a property belonging to an officer from the Nashville Metro Police Department. The officer was off duty at the time, but his police SUV was parked at his residence in the city's Old Hickory neighborhood. When the firework went off, it caused the SUV to catch fire, and soon most of the vehicle's front end was engulfed in flames. No one was injured as a result of the fire. However, by the time the blaze was extinguished, the SUV had been badly damaged. While it's unclear whether the 14-year-old suspect specifically targeted the vehicle with his fireworks or whether the situation was some sort of accident, He reportedly admitted to throwing the fireworks onto the officer's property during questioning. He was later arrested on arson charges and was taken to a juvenile facility. At the time of this recording, the teenager's name has not been released. Authorities in Southern California say that 2 people are dead this week and at least 3 others are wounded after 2 men allegedly went on a spree of armed robberies targeting half a dozen 7-Eleven convenience stores, crimes which have been called a reign of terror. According to reports, the wave of armed robberies began at around midnight on July 11th, when one of the suspects entered a 7-Eleven location in the city of Ontario with a handgun and demanded money. About 40 minutes later, a second location in Upland was robbed, this time with the suspects making off with about $500. Unfortunately, the violence would escalate significantly from here. At around 1:50 a.m., a 46-year-old man named Jason Harrell was shot in the head and critically injured at a 7-Eleven location in Riverside. Despite the serious nature of his wounds, follow-up reports state that Harrell now appears to be improving and is no longer in a coma and is breathing on his own. Sadly, the next victim would not be so lucky. At approximately 3:25 a.m., a 24-year-old man named Matthew Rule was allegedly shot and killed by the suspects during an attempted robbery at a 7-Eleven location in Santa Ana. According to reports, Rule was shot while trying to intervene as one of the suspects was attempting to rob someone else. Less than an hour later, a 40-year-old clerk at a 7-Eleven in Brea, Matthew Hirsch, was killed during a 5th robbery. The 6th and final robbery took place just before 5 a.m. in the neighboring city of La Habra. In that instance, 2 more people were shot, including another clerk and a customer. The customer, 60-year-old Russell Browning, was shot in the face while sitting in his car outside of the 7-Eleven. Browning said that he witnessed the clerk and one of the suspects coming out of the store during the robbery, and that before he could react, the suspect had lifted his gun and shot him in the face. Thankfully, both Browning and the clerk are expected to survive. In the aftermath of the terrifying spree, police were able to quickly connect the 6 robberies, thanks in part to video surveillance taken from the various crime scenes. They also offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of those responsible. Several days later, on July 15th, authorities announced that they had arrested 2 men in connection with the case, 20-year-old Malik Danye Pat and 44-year-old Jason Lamont Payne. While it's unclear exactly how the 2 suspects were identified, investigators have said that technology played a role without specifying further. Because only one of the suspects actually carried out the robberies at each of the locations, it's also unclear how police were able to identify that 2 people were involved. All that authorities have said in this regard so far is that it's believed that Malik Pat was the actual gunman. Police have further stated that at least one of the men is suspected in additional recent crimes in the area, including a murder on July 9th that took place in LA. As for why the 2 suspects specifically targeted 7-Eleven stores, multiple sources we came across speculated that it might have had something to do with the company's anniversary taking place on the same day. However, this has yet to be confirmed. At the time of this recording, Pat and Payne remain in custody. However, charges against them have yet to be announced. Authorities in Orange County, California say that a 37-year-old former NASCAR driver and his alleged killer are both dead this week after police attempted to make an arrest in the case and the suspect turned violent. According to reports, the incident began just before 6 p.m. on July 13th, when police in the city of Westminster were called to a 76 gas station with a report about a violent incident. They arrived to find 37-year-old Bobby East lying on the ground and suffering from a severe knife wound to his upper torso. East was rushed to a local hospital, though sadly was pronounced dead shortly after his arrival there. While investigators have released few details about what led up to the violent stabbing that took East's life, soon after the crime occurred, they were reportedly able to zero in on a suspect. That suspect was later identified as 27-year-old Trent William Millsap, a transient apparently known to frequent motels in Westminster, Garden Grove, and Anaheim. At the time of the stabbing, Millsap was on parole for armed robbery and had an outstanding warrant for his arrest for an unrelated parole violation. 2 days after East was killed, investigators were able to track Millsap to a residence in Anaheim, where they attempted to serve an arrest warrant. However, according to reports, Millsap allegedly became violent during this process and was shot after the SWAT team was called in. Like the murder of East, much of the circumstances regarding the shooting currently remain a mystery. However, we know that Millsap was pronounced dead after being taken to the hospital. Both incidents are still under investigation. In the aftermath of East's killing, many from the world of NASCAR took to social media to express their grief and honor the driver's career. A statement released by the United States Auto Club celebrating East's achievements read, quote, "Bobby was an immediate success in his USAC career. His first career triumph with the USAC National Midgets in 2001 at Schererville, Indiana's Indiana Motor Speedway, made Bobby the youngest USAC National feature winner ever at the time at the age of 16. His 3 winning performances in 2001 made him the winningest USAC National Midget rookie in more than a quarter century. Ultimately, he was rewarded as the series' Rookie of the Year." Authorities in St. Charles, Missouri say that a 26-year-old man is being lauded for his courage and quick thinking this week after he thwarted an early morning armed robbery at a gas station where he just happened to have stopped for a bathroom break. According to reports, the situation began at around 3:20 a.m. on July 16th, when the 26-year-old witness, who was asked to remain anonymous, pulled into a Quick Trip gas station on First Capitol Drive. He needed to use the bathroom and decided he would stop and buy something as well. When the 26-year-old finished his business, he walked back out to his car, but began to become suspicious when he saw another vehicle, a black SUV, pull up at the station. The driver, a man, appeared to be in a hurry and quickly exited the vehicle while carrying a backpack. Unbeknownst to the 26-year-old witness, this man, later identified as 26-year-old Lance Bush, was in the middle of an alleged violent crime spree. In fact, according to police, he had just robbed 2 other gas stations in the area, injuring at least 1 employee when he attacked her with a knife. As the 26-year-old witness stood near his car and watched Bush head into the Quick Trip that morning, something apparently came over him, and he decided to go and check the situation out. He poked his head into the store and asked if everything was all right, only to realize that Bush was holding a knife to an employee's throat. Luckily for the 26-year-old, when he went to investigate the situation in the Quick Trip, he brought his handgun, which he had on him at the time. He had just started to confront Bush when Bush said, quote, "I have something for you," before allegedly rushing at him with his hand in his backpack. The 26-year-old fired 4 shots, and Bush fell to the ground. When police were called to the scene, they were already in the midst of investigating the first 2 robberies in the area, and the crimes were quickly connected. The same black SUV, which was later proven to have been stolen, was spotted at the first crime scene, and stolen items from the second gas station were apparently found in the vehicle. Though Bush was rushed to the hospital following the shooting, he was soon pronounced dead. While the 26-year-old witness was briefly detained after the incident, it said that he has since been released and is not facing any charges. At the time of this recording, the situation is still under investigation. Authorities in Pontotoc County, Oklahoma say that they were treated to quite the tall tale this week when a 53-year-old murder suspect tried to claim that he had killed his fishing partner in self-defense because he was trying to feed him to Bigfoot. According to reports, the incident began on July 10th when the body of a man named Jimmy Knighton was found in the South Canadian River. After some investigation, police learned that Jimmy had last been seen the day before with his friend and fishing partner, 53-year-old Larry Doyle Sanders. The two had gone to do some noodling for catfish in the river. When Sanders was questioned about Jimmy's death, he reportedly admitted to killing his friend, but claimed that he had a good explanation. You see, Jimmy had been trying to summon Bigfoot, causing Sanders to fear for his life. According to the 53-year-old, things had been going fine at the river up until the two of them got into an altercation. It's unclear if the whole fight was about Bigfoot or whether the mythical forest-dwelling ape-like creature was brought into the situation later. But what we do know is that at some point things turned violent. Sanders claims that Jimmy was trying to get away from him during the fight because he had called Bigfoot and was trying to get the creature to eat him, so he struck him with a stick and strangled him to death. Understandably, authorities did not buy Sanders' story, saying that they believe it's more likely that he was under the influence of something at the time that caused the Bigfoot-related paranoia. The 53-year-old has since been arrested and is now charged with first-degree murder. Authorities in Houston, Texas say that they are searching for an unknown armed robbery suspect this week after a man recently held up a convenience store at gunpoint after buying a face mask from the same location. According to reports, the situation began sometime around 4 a.m. on the 4th of July, when the unknown suspect entered the convenience store on the 8000 block of Cullen Boulevard. After purchasing a face mask from the location, he hung around for a bit, waiting until other customers had left. When the store's clerk left the cash register to restock some items near the front of the business, the suspect apparently decided his moment had arrived and put on the face mask he had just purchased before pulling out a handgun from the waistband of his shorts. He then demanded that the employee put money from the register in a bag. The employee did as they were told, and the suspect fled with the cash soon after. While the suspect has not been caught at the time of this recording, it appears like it'll only be a matter of time, owing to the bizarre way that he chose to carry out the crime. Not only did he purchase the mask that he used to cover his face at the crime scene, but when he put it on before robbing the store, he apparently didn't actually leave in between, meaning that all of this was done in full view of the convenience store's surveillance cameras. As a result, police were able to obtain a clear image of the suspect's face. That image is now being circulated in the hopes that it will lead to an arrest. Anyone with information about the case is encouraged to reach out to Houston Crime Stoppers. Authorities say that any information leading to the charging or arrest of the suspect may result in a $5,000 cash reward. Authorities in the Indianapolis suburb of Greenwood, Indiana, say that 4 people are dead this week, including the shooter, after a gunman opened fire on patrons at a local shopping mall. According to reports, the incident began just before 6 p.m. on July 17th, when the gunman, identified as a local 20-year-old man named Jonathan Douglas Sapperman, began shooting at people in the food court of the Greenwood Park Mall. Sources state that Sapperman was armed with 2 rifles and a handgun at the time and was also carrying more than 100 rounds of ammunition. Witnesses described a terrifying scene as they were sent scrambling for their lives, with some initially believing that the gunshots were simply mechanical sounds coming from the mall's carousel. After firing numerous shots in the food court, Sapperman reportedly made his way into the main part of the mall where he continued shooting. While it's unclear exactly how it unfolded, we know that the situation came to an end when Sapperman was shot by a 22-year-old man described as a Good Samaritan who was also armed. That man has since been identified as Elijah Dickin. Though Dickin reportedly took down Sapperman quite soon after the incident began, sadly, not all of the victims could be saved. 3 people were killed during the shooting, while at least 2 others were injured. The deceased victims have since been identified as a 30-year-old man named Victor Gomez, as well as husband and wife, 56-year-old Pedro Pineda, and 37-year-old Rosa Rivera de Pineda. Sapperman was also pronounced dead after the shooting. While few additional details are available about the incident at this time, multiple reports we came across state that Sapperman walked to the mall before carrying out the attack. It's further alleged that he headed into a bathroom in the food court prior to the crime, though didn't begin shooting for more than an hour. Multiple people that knew Sapperman claim they were stunned to learn that he had carried out such a brutal attack. Police say that the 20-year-old had a juvenile record, but no criminal history as an adult. As for a motive behind the crime, nothing has been reported as of yet. When authorities conducted a search of Sapperman's apartment, they allegedly found his laptop burned in the oven and his cell phone in the toilet. At the time of this recording, the investigation continues. That's it for this edition of Crimes of the Week. If you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.